What's up, guys? It's your girl, Sierra Simone, and you're watching another episode of The Women's Vault. So, first and foremost, y'all, I have been sick. I have been sick for like the last week and a half. We launched the podcast. I've been posting on a daily, and then I kind of went ghost. I am so sorry. I have been sick. I have been going through it, but it is okay. We are back and better. If my voice sounds a little crazy, just ignore it. All right, y'all, let's get into it. Today, we're going to be talking about releasing toxicity, people, and negative patterns. And, last episode, we were talking about the process of accepting and acknowledging pain and letting that go. Well, this is the next step in your healing journey. Okay. And this, I think, is for me personally my favorite step because it is the most transformational step of them all. And so basically, God put it on my heart to share something with y'all. Now, y'all about to be all up in my business. Yeah, y'all about to be all up in my business, but it's okay. Somebody needs to hear this. And it has something to do with what we're going to be talking about today. And so I'm going to share a story with you guys before we get into the details of releasing toxicity, people, and negative patterns. So as of January 3rd, 2025, I have been faithfully unemployed. And I put an emphasis on faithfully because God told me to walk away from my job. I was making more than $80,000 a year, no degree. The job was very loaded as far as the duties I had. I'm a very great delegator, so of course I was able to delegate things, but I basically overstayed in that position. When I originally started in that line of work, I said that I was only going to be there for a year. It was transitional, it was just a stepping stone for me. I needed more flexibility when it came to me being a full-time mom. I needed a better pay. Well, I got so comfortable in the position, and I ended up being there 2 years instead of one. And so, God being God, I fasted, if I'm not mistaken, last year, July or August for 30 days. I got off of social media, and basically during that fast, I would say in the third week of it, God revealed to me that I needed to walk away from my job. Now, of course, I'm scratching my head like, God, you sure you're talking to the right person? You sure you got the right Sierra? Like, I know you know me by name and all, but like, you sure you got the right one? And so it was something that was very hard for me to come to terms with because, um, I'm making all of this money. I just got this house, a 4-bedroom house. I have all these bills. So, took some time, thought about it. I tried to compromise with God, and I'm not even going to sit here and lie to y'all. I tried to compromise with God, and I tried to find a way to be able to stay at the job as well as do what He was calling me to do. There was a deal that was made. I was going to be working less days a week in office. And ever since I made that deal, I had been feeling like uneasy, like just constant, like I would say I was feeling constant hurt inside. I was feeling not like myself, honestly, just not like myself. And some things happened. I won't discuss the details of what happened. Some things happened, and ultimately, I'm no longer at the job. God gave me a sign. We always pray for a sign. Pray for a sign. God gave me that sign and ended up still not being at the job. And so, like I said before, I've been faithfully unemployed since January 3rd, 2025. Been unemployed for almost 2 months now, inching up to 2 months. And God has covered me. He has taken care of me. I've been okay. And the reason why I'm telling you guys this is so that you guys can see the effects, the after effects of letting go of something that no longer serves you. Yes, the job served me as far as flexibility and financially, but my soul could not rest peacefully. My spirit was always disturbed. I felt like I was turning into the opposite of what God called me to be. And so ever since I walked away, I've never felt this amount of peace. And you have to think about it. I took a leap of faith and I walked out not knowing what I was going to do financially. I walked out on faith and trusted in God because He knew that this job was going to eventually break me and turn me into something that He did not want me to be. And so after leaving, I just felt so much peace. I gained more clarity. I started to focus on the things that God has called me to do. One of those things being this podcast. So the other thing, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. On February 12th, your girl passed her SAFE MLO exam, which is for me to become a mortgage loan officer. And so although I know that I can pursue that and still have a job, God needed me to walk away from that so that I could get my spirit, get my soul together, because it was like I was always angry, like always tired, always just irritable. I didn't have any sense of peace. The only peace that I really felt was the security of my finances. And so I'm very thankful for that. And didn't want to share that with y'all, but God put it on my heart yesterday and told me I need to share that story at the beginning of this. So this is my year of obedience. So now let's get into it. Baggage. Using the example that I just gave with this job, baggage can alter the path that you're on, whether it's altering you emotionally, physically, mentally, or spiritually. It can be a job, it could be a person, it could be a romantic relationship, it could be a situation, it could be a space that you're in. Toxic baggage can be a true hindrance to you and the journey that you're on. And so what I did was I looked up what is toxic behavior, right? And per Google/ChatGPT, toxic behavior is actions and attitudes that intentionally or unintentionally harm, manipulate, or significantly distress others, creating negative and stressful environments within a relationship or social setting. So let's talk about it. Why is it important for us to release these things? Using my example, like I said before, when I was at the job, I was just kind of losing myself. Although I was still taking steps towards becoming a better person, I was still taking steps towards, becoming the woman that God called me to be. I was still doing all the right things. But because of the environment that I was in, because I overstayed my welcome, because God was calling me out of something that I was trying to keep myself in, I couldn't make room for new. And that's what happens when you don't know how to release the things that are holding you back. Let's think about it. Baggage. You're holding on to something. You're carrying something. And if it's toxic baggage, it's like you're carrying a dead weight. So instead of me being able to walk freely, run freely, I always have something that's like just holding me back, right? From being able to fully go about the things that I need to do with a pure heart, a pure conscience, a pure spirit, all of that, right? So, some examples of toxic behavior or toxic energy or toxic spaces might include jealousy, manipulation. It might include harassment. It might include unsincere apologies. It might include a lack of empathy, right? It might include blame shifting, right? Boundary violations, lack of support. We all have those friends, right? And I'm going to use a lot of different examples from my life. We have friends who will, support you, but it's kind of like they're giving off a vibe that they're more so like being nosy. They're more so preying on your downfall in the background. They're there to congratulate you, but it's insincere. They may say, oh, like for me, for instance, when I started to really dive into my faith and I started to look at myself and I started to change the things about myself that I didn't like and that God did not like, a lot of people started to tell me that you're bougie. oh, you think you better than other people. But like say it in like a laughing and joking way. Like it's just very small, subtle things that people will pick apart of you. And like the definition of toxic behavior said, sometimes it's intentionally or unintentionally. And a lot of times when it's unintentionally, people are projecting those things onto you that they subconsciously hate about themselves, or they subconsciously wish that they could change about themselves. And so you have to be very mindful of the people that you're around and the people that you're giving your time and energy to, because a lot of people will act like, that they're there for you and they're supportive, but they can't wait to see you fall. And as soon as they see you fall, as soon as you even do something as small as stumble, they're like, oh, I knew that wasn't gonna work out. Oh, I knew you shouldn't have did that, but hey, you do what you do, right? It's things like that. A supportive person around you, when you fall, they're gonna encourage you to get back up. They're gonna encourage you to do it again, right? They're gonna encourage you and push you because they actually believe in you in whatever it is that's your dream that you're pursuing, right? And so something that my pastor always says, shout out to Pastor Darius Daniels, excuse me, shout out to Dr. Darius Daniels of Change Church. He always talks about jealousy and what exactly that is. And jealousy is mismanaged exposure. When God exposes you to something, you're supposed to be inspired. So, say for instance, I'm not a millionaire, but I get in a room full of I get in a room full of millionaires. I'm now in a room full of people who are doing the things that I want to do. If your heart is in the wrong space, then you're going to get jealous of those people. You might want to still be around them, but your intentions won't be pure because you're so busy trying to figure out how you can undermine, or subconsciously you're undermining their success. But if I have the right heart posture and I'm exposed to those things, I'm going to be inspired by those things. I'm going to want to learn from those things. I'm going to humble myself and I'm going to say, what can I learn from you? I want you to mentor me. I want to help you in some type of way. Or even if I can't help you in some type of way, because you're already so successful, can I learn from you? That's an example of a good heart space. But jealousy is just, like I said before, a result of mismanaged exposure. And so the effects that these toxic relationships and toxic spaces has on your emotional, mental, and physical well-being, it might not affect you right then in that moment, but trust me, eventually you're going to suffer. So you have a friend, you're in a relationship, you're at a job, you're in a situation that's toxic. What do? Right? How do we let go? So what are the benefits of letting go? Right? You allow yourself more room for new opportunities to grow. You allow yourself more room for opportunity for more positive influences to step in your space. Because if you think about it, say you have somebody that's healed, right? They have a lot of positive influences around. They know how to set boundaries. They have certain standards for the people that they have around them. And then you come around and you have this entire friend group who are, for lack of a better word, a whole bunch of bums. They don't do anything with their lives. They're just super negative, and all they do is argue, want to fight, be in drama. If you try to put yourself around this healed person and say you try to incorporate the two, you can't incorporate your baggage with where you're going, because you're now going to miss out on that opportunity with that person who is healed, who is positive, who has boundaries, who has standards. You're going to miss out on that opportunity with that person because their standards and their boundaries won't allow them to commingle with that said group of friends. And so I have an example, and I hope I don't ruffle any feathers with this. I promise, guys. I promise my heart is pure in this. I'm just sharing my testimony, right? So I had a group of friends, and we were all, I was maybe like five, maybe 4 or 5, 6 of us. And we were friends throughout high school, even a little bit after college. They've been there for me for a lot of different things. And there was one specific friend. She actually helped me leave my toxic ex. I mean, she literally came to the house and packed my stuff up. So I will always love and appreciate her for that. But during my time of healing from that and doing all of that reflection on myself, the relationship I had just left, I was reflecting on all relationships, friendships, business relationships, all of that. And I realized that there were things in friendships that I had to let go of. I realized that there were certain people in my life that no longer served me. And it took a long time for me to kind of distance myself. When you spend so much time with people, it's hard to just cut them off cold turkey, especially if they've been there with you through certain things. You can't just really cut people off like cold turkey. Like, gotta have a heart. So you wanna try to set boundaries first, right? And if those boundaries are still broken, if they don't respect those boundaries, then at that point, once you make it known, like, hey, this is how I feel, like if this keeps happening, blah blah blah, like I'm gonna have to step back. There was a point in time that I realized that I had to just step back. And I could be honest, and I will say with this scenario here, I learned the whole boundary setting thing with a different friendship. So I would say that I didn't step back in a reasonable way with this friend group. I kind of just stepped back. Yeah. Fell out with one of the girls over something stupid. And it was just kind of like cold turkey from there. And so there was a point in time that I believe it was when I got pregnant with my son. The girl tried to kind of just slide her way in, and I just wasn't going for it. Was I petty? Yes, I removed her from the group chat. I still is not where I am today. I removed her from the group chat. But for me, in that moment, I really did feel like, for me personally, that was bad energy that I didn't need to have around me, especially when I was bringing a new life into this world. Me and the girl, we're cordial today. I don't have any problems. She don't have any problems. We don't talk. But it's kind of like if we're around each other, there's good vibes. We catch up. But as far as having people in your close proximity, that's kind of where I'm going with this. You have to know and understand who you can keep within close proximity to you. Any kind of partnership, business partnership, relational partnership, romantically, friendship wise, we're there to support one another. We're there to support the growth of one another. If you're sitting around people and all they're doing all day is a whole bunch of nothing and twiddling their thumbs and drinking and smoking and talking about everybody, what are we doing? Really, what are we doing? There's no type of growth in that kind of situation. I need people that are encouraging me, that are holding me accountable, that are pushing me towards the goals that I've dreamt of and that I've talked to them about. If there are people around me that are okay with me being mediocre, those are not my people. Because people that are okay with you being mediocre are preying on your downfall. And so I've seen it countless times, even to this day. That's why there are certain people that I stay around. There are certain groups of people that I do not go around unless I am specifically invited somewhere. I'll invite myself somewhere, or I'll call somebody up and be like, hey, like, let's do this, or hey, like, you want to do that? There are very specific people that I do not call because I do not want to be around that energy. It is very intentional, because I don't want to be around anybody that is preying on my downfall. If you can't encourage me, uplift me, hold me accountable, that tells me that you do not care about me. I have a homegirl. She just graduated from Fire Academy. She will literally tell me, now see, you know you tripping. Go ahead and go to that gym. Go ahead and go ahead. Like you tripping. How are you saying that you want this, but you're not doing nothing? My best friend. Huh? Sound like a whole bunch of excuses to me. Like, he's always on me. He's always on my butt. He's always telling me, see, get up. I'm like, oh, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. Yeah, that sounds like a whole bunch of excuses. Even with my loan officer test, obviously we're gonna have some issues if you don't schedule that test. I was doubting myself. I was doubting myself. I was doubting my ability to be able to pass. I failed the first time by 1%. And I was doubting myself. I was scared. I was moving in fear. And he pushed me. See, you need to schedule this. People giving me deadlines like I'm a child. Those are the type of people that you want in your life. Those are the type of people because they don't expect anything from excellence from you. Just as much as they don't expect anything but excellence from them. So if you're around a whole bunch of people who are insecure, you're around a whole bunch of people that are not determined to do better, they're not consistent with their growth, they don't even have a plan about what they want to do or how they want to get there. Those are not the people that you want to be around. Those are not the situations that you want to be in because over time, the toxicity, the negativity is going to slowly seep into who you are as a person. And when I say slowly, I mean slowly. It's going to look like you getting up every day. You going to the gym. Journaling or whatever the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis for growth. The more you're around them, the more of a distraction that it'll be, that person, the relationship, or the situation will be. And then over time, you'll start to just see small things change and you'll slowly start to become like them because negativity and toxicity drains you. There's nothing that boosts you when it comes to you being in situations that are toxic or draining. There's nothing positive about it at all. That's why I am very selective about who I am around. I'm very selective about the people that I allow in my home. I don't do the negativity because I know that God has called me to something a lot bigger than myself. And if I am constantly around people who only focus on themselves and what they're going to eat for their next meal and what TV show they're going to watch next, that is not going to help me in my process at all. There's no type of encouragement. It might be a, hey girl, I see you doing your thing, you doing good, but what if I start falling? What if I get depressed? What if I fall into this dark space? If they have no motivation for their life, do you think that they're going to have some motivation to give you for yours? No. What are some practical steps that we can do to start letting go? We need to let go of toxic people, toxic situations, and toxic behaviors within ourselves. And so the first step is setting boundaries, like I said before. And how exactly do we set boundaries, right? I guess I'll give a little story about how I learned to set boundaries because with the first friend that I let go of, there was no boundary set, there was none of that. This specific friend that I had, we became friends while I was pregnant. She was pregnant. Her baby daddy wasn't no good, and my baby daddy, he was there, but like we were just going through a lot of stuff, and he was physically there, but emotionally, mentally, he was not there for real. And so we were both going through it, trauma bonding. And so we both give birth around the same time, not too far apart from one another. We were still hanging out after the fact. When me and my child's father broke up, I was with her a lot. We were constantly going out, partying, finding dudes, like just all types of crazy stuff. And, at that time, I wasn't judging her because I was the same as her. I was hurt, I was lost, but I can never sit in that space for too long. And that's something about myself that I love and appreciate. I can never sit in toxicity for too long. And so I began to just reevaluate some things. I started wanting to heal. Like I said before, I started my healing journey. And unfortunately, she was a friend that I had to let go of. She was doing things. And I'm going to say this. If you want to have multiple dudes or if you want to go out and as a woman, if you want to, date freely and date multiple people and live your best life, by all means, do it. Do it. But be safe. Be mindful. Especially if you have kids. be mindful of the things that you do, be mindful of the people that you bring around your children. And for this specific friend, she began bringing some of the people around that she was seeing. And I had an issue with it, but I didn't really say anything because at the end of the day, it's your life. I mentioned it like, hey, just be mindful. You never know the intentions of people. You don't really know these people all that well, for real, for real. Like, you want to protect your kid. And it got to the point to where she started doing certain things that I just absolutely could not stand by and watch. I just could not deal with it. Even though it wasn't my situation to deal with, I'm a friend that when we're friends, I love you. I care about you. I care about your well being. I care about the things that you are doing to yourself. I care about all of that. I care about the situations you put yourself in. And so for me, seeing my friend put herself in certain situations that could potentially harm herself and her child, I drew the line at that. You want to live your best life? Do it, but protect yourself and protect your child. I was living my best life, but I wasn't living my best life around my child. When my son is around, I am a mother. When I'm a mom, I'm a mom. And I take that very seriously. And so there were things that she was doing, and I couldn't stand by it. And this is where setting boundaries come into place. I let her know, hey, I love you. You're my friend. I rock with you. And because you're my friend, I have to let you know that what you're doing right now is not right. It's not right. And I'm only telling you this because I love you. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of what she was doing because I'm not here to spill out anybody's business. But I gave her specific examples of what she was doing that I didn't like. I gave her very specific examples and I told her the possible outcomes of her actions. And I told her, hey, you have a small baby and you're doing these things with your baby around, and XYZ can happen. And I love you, and I love your child like she is my own. But if you continue to do these things, if I continue to feel like that I care more about your child's safety than you do, I'm going to have to let you go. And I would hate to have to do that. And we talked. It was a good talk from what I can remember. I don't think it was any pushback. I don't know. But it was a good talk. And a little while later, she kept doing the same thing. And one thing about setting boundaries is when you set a boundary, you have to be ready to stand on it. When you set a standard for yourself, you have to be ready to stand on it. Because what do you look like setting a boundary and somebody violating that boundary? And then you just go on, it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. Yes, it is that big of a deal. It is a very big deal. Because you know your limits. You know what you're willing and not willing to deal with. And for someone to cross those boundaries, that means that they don't have any respect for you or the standards and boundaries that you set for yourself. So cut them off. And so, I had to let go. I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. Honestly, till this day, I wish that I never had to. She wasn't a bad friend. She wasn't. But I can't be around that type of stuff. I was growing and I was developing into this new person. And that was baggage that I had to let go of in order to step into the new season that God was trying to get me to walk into. And so that's why it's so important to be able to recognize when it's time to let something or someone go. Because if you constantly try to hold on to them and you try to bring them with you to your new season, they're either going to intentionally or unintentionally sabotage whatever you have going on, or they're just going to make it 10 times harder for you to reach that goal. Or whatever baggage that they have that's holding you back will slowly start to seep into your bag and you'll slowly start to be like them. Even if it's not in a drastic way, those small things add up over time. And say you overstayed in a friendship for 3 years. Over 3 years, you're going to be somebody completely different if you're constantly giving this person your time and energy. because you are who you hang around. I don't care what nobody says. You are who you hang around. I don't care if you hang around a whole bunch of bums and you are the one person out of the group that is doing something with themselves. Something in you is bummish. Just because your tangible life, your physical life, what you can see, just because that does not look like their life doesn't mean that there's not something in you that connects to them, that relates to them. And if you don't let that go, you are always going to feel the need to be like them, or excuse me, you are always going to feel the need to be around them. And sometimes we have so much loyalty to people due to the amount of time that we've spent with them, due to the things that we've been through with them. But some people are there for a season and some people are there for a reason. And sometimes the reason might only time length-wise, the reason that they need to be there may only be a few months, might only be a few years. Even if you had a childhood friend, their reason may have been to get you through that 10, 15 years so that you can step out and do what you need to do to flourish. I'm not saying that when you let go of people, you have to cut them off cold turkey. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that there needs to be a healthy amount of distance between you and that person. You have to be mindful of the amount of time and energy that you're giving the person. Even with the friends that I have from high school, we see each other, not all the time. I'm not over there all the time. But we'll see each other for special occasions. You know, if someone's having a big get together and they invite me, I love and respect them enough to still go. If they invite me to a graduation, I love and respect them enough to go. If they're having kids, I'm going to buy you something for your baby shower. I'm going to be there to support you. But I love you from a distance. And that's what people tend to forget. Just because somebody steps away from you physically doesn't mean that the love that they have for you has shifted. It just means that the love for themselves that they have has shifted. Because I love myself enough to know that this person, that this situation is no longer serving me in the way that I need it to, in a healthy way. That's the thing. And sometimes you might even need to separate yourself from a person, from a thing for a season and come back to it. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be able to discern what it is you need in that season. And if you can't do that, you are in trouble. So being able to identify toxic behaviors, patterns, not just within other people, but within yourself takes a level of vulnerability that a lot of people don't want to have. In today's age, everybody wants to feel like they have to be tough. Everybody feels like they have to be, super independent. Like, don't nobody got me. It's just me. I got to figure it out. But we have people so we can lean on them. If you have people around you that you can't lean on, are those really like, let's think about it. Are those really your people? And it takes time to grow a village. You have to be very intentional about growing a village. And, being intentional with looking within yourself, being vulnerable, it doesn't just come overnight. Just reflect, look at yourself. Write down things you like about yourself. Write down things you don't like about yourself. Write down things that you could do better on. Like me, I'm a procrastinator. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This episode is coming out tomorrow. Yeah, today's the 19th. It's coming out the 20th. But I have an excuse. I've been sick. My voice has been out of it. So, but outside of that, I am a real deal procrastinator. I will wait till the last minute to do something. And that's something about myself I need to change. And people have to learn to be okay with the fact that you're not perfect. People need to be okay with the fact that you have flaws. But you have to be real with yourself and know and be able to distinguish between what are the good things about me and what are the bad things about me. Where are there areas of improvement? And you just have to sit with yourself. Like I said in the last episode, sit and be present. I mean, I said that when it came to accepting and acknowledging pain in your life, but it's also when you're reflecting on yourself and seeing what it is that you need to do with yourself to grow. And I know a lot of this episode, we're discussing toxic behavior, toxic people, and toxic situations, but we can be toxic ourselves. Everybody has toxic things about themselves. Like I said, nobody's perfect, but you have to be able to put yourself in a space, in a mental space, in an emotional space to receive what it is that you need to work on. And that's why it's so important to have those friends who are centered, who know themselves, who are good in the area of vulnerability and accountability. Because sometimes we're going to need for somebody else to reveal something to us that we can't see within ourselves. And you have to be willing to accept that. If you're a selfish person, from your perspective, you might be looking at it as, oh, well, I don't have to do this, or well, this is how I feel, so I'm justified in it. But to other people, it could come off as selfish. And because of your own personal perspective of it, you're not able to see how it's coming off to other people. And so sometimes people telling you about yourself is a good thing. We need people to tell us about ourselves sometimes, but with love. I'm not saying just let anybody go off on you and tell you off and stuff like that, but the people around you that want you to do better and want better for themselves and you, they'll tell you, hey, you doing this and I'm not really feeling it. You're coming off this way. I know you may not have ill intention, but this is how it's coming off to people. Or if you're somebody who always says that people always say I'm mean or this and that will do, but I used to be joking. Well, the way you say things, friend, it's coming off in a very harsh manner. I know you enough to know that you don't have ill intentions, but maybe be mindful of XYZ. Have people around you who can tell you about yourself with love. You know, you don't want nobody just, going off while you telling you all these things in a hateful way because you're gonna be less willing to receive. And so that's why it's so important to let go of the baggage. If you have people who are toxic, if you have people that are not willing to do the work on themselves, if you have people who don't have any goals, no aspirations, they're just kind of content with just living, just surviving, going to work just to pay the bills. They have no dreams, no aspirations, like not even a little bit because they don't care enough about themselves to do better. They're not gonna care enough about you to want you to do better. Like, what sense does that make? If I'm over here twiddling my thumbs every day, not doing nothing with myself, I'm just going day in, day out, not doing nothing. I go to work, come home, not depressed, don't have any type of mental disorder, no depression, no nothing. I'm just going to work, coming home, I'm just living day by day. It is what it is. I have no goals I'm working towards, and I have a friend who's doing all these big things and she's falling short. And I'm just like, no, well, it is what it is. That's not the friend that you want around you. So be okay with loving people from a distance. Be okay with cutting people off. Be okay with making room for new. There's nothing wrong with making room for new. And there are going to be people who have you listed as a villain in their story. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. Because for me, I look at it like this. If God is trying to pull me away from something or someone, and I am refusing to let go of that thing or that person because of the length of time that we've had together, because of the things that they've done for me, or even just because of the fact that I feel like that they would be mad. I am now putting that thing or that person, I'm more loyal to that thing or that person than I am to God. The one person, the one being in this entire universe that knows what's going to happen before I do. The one person that has literally ordained my steps. And I'm being more loyal to this person on earth that don't even know what TV show they want to watch next versus trying to read a book to better themselves or to something to grow themselves. They're more focused on just drama and all of this. I'm more loyal to this person who loves drama, who loves to talk crap, who loves to stir things up. I'm more loyal to them just based off of the amount of time that we've known each other than I am to God. What does that say about you? What type of person does that make you? But at the end of the day, it makes you human. And I would hope that it's something that you learn from. It's something that I had to learn from. I've done that. I've had friendships that I did not want to let go of. And when I came to that realization that I was being disloyal to God just to try to save the relationship of somebody on this earth, I was like, shit, I'm sorry, baby, but I'm gonna have to. So yeah, you just have to create small, actionable steps to release. Just creating small things you can do, whether it's if you're, say you have a friend and you're at their house every day and you know you need to let them go. Maybe don't go over there every day. Maybe instead of going over there every day, you start with every other day. Have a conversation with them. Hey, I'm doing this. I'm getting more busy. I love you, but I might be a little distant. Communicate with them. You know, After you start taking a few days to yourself, maybe just start taking a few more days. Fill your time that you're away from them with more productive things. Maybe instead of sitting on the phone for 5 hours, cut down to 1 hour. Set boundaries and stand on them. There's nothing wrong with that. Just do what it is that you have to do to become a better version of yourself. Because holding on to baggage will do nothing in this life but hold you. Like I said, you have to be okay with loving people from a distance. Just because you step away from people doesn't mean that you hate them. Even a friend that I let go of that we were pregnant together, I don't hate her. I don't. If I saw her today, like, we would be cool. Like, I don't hate her, but I had to love myself enough to let her go because she was going to be destructive for me. She was going to be a corruption of the path that I was on. I love her from a distance. The friend that I stopped being friends with in not a such good way, I had to, even when she came back, I had to stand on that boundary I created. I couldn't let her back in my life because the way our friendship was going to be destructive. She had a lot of things that she had to work on with herself that I couldn't help her with. Tried to, couldn't. It was something internal that she had to deal with. Still love her from a distance. I don't hate anybody that I've stopped communicating with. I don't hate anybody that I've distanced myself from. But it's healthy to know when you have to release yourself of something that no longer serves you. There's nothing wrong with that. So just ask yourself, if you don't have boundaries, what are some things that I can set in place that will create a healthier environment for me? Whether it's a healthier mental environment, a healthier spiritual environment, a healthier emotional environment. What are some boundaries I can put in place for myself and for others? Like for me, this has nothing to do with like friendships and stuff like that. But for me, my son's bedtime is 7 p.m. That is a healthy boundary because after a long day of being a mom, being an employee, or whatever the case may be, I need time to decompress. I need time to relax. I don't answer phone calls after. Somebody calls me, I'm not answering. There's only a very select few individuals that I would answer my phone for after that set time. And that's because I know that they don't come with bad energy. I know that they don't come with ill intentions. I know that they probably have something to talk about. 9 times out of 10, they have something to talk about. And so I know that it won't be a detriment to my sacred time with myself, right? Also, you can think about who are some people that I might have to love from a distance. And I'm pretty sure you're going to think about it. And there is going to be at least one person that pops up at the front of your mind. And that person that pops up at the front of your mind, no matter how long you've known them, no matter how much you love them, accept it. Accept it that they are not healthy for where you're going. And just start to find very subtle ways that you can just start to distance yourself, whether it's just a conversation about some of the things that you don't like that they do, some of the ways that they treat you that you don't like, or just kind of like distancing yourself a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. This is an ongoing process. Ongoing process. So be patient with yourself. Take your time. Growth does not happen overnight. So, with that being said, I love you guys. Follow the Women's Vault podcast on Instagram. You can like, comment, subscribe, and share this page, this video. Go watch the other 2 videos. Next week, we will be back and better than ever with a brand new topic. I hope you guys took something from this. I hope you guys took something from my vulnerability. Don't go tell my business. If you wanted to know my business, tell them come watch the Women's Vault podcast. Y'all have a blessed day. Mwah.